Over the years, you've probably seen a handful of my videos showing off different power stations that you can use at home in case of a power outage, or even when you're out and about on a road trip, or even camping to keep all of your devices charged while you're on the go. But what I've never truly done is a true real-world simulation or test with one of these units just to see how long they can keep you going with your regular day-to-day life. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing today. So let's get to it. Now for this test, we're going to be using the Anker SOLIX F2000, aka the Powerhouse 767, and we're going to get into the name change in a little bit, but let's take a look at the setup itself. And here it is. This is the Anker SOLIX F2000, and it's not exactly small, but that's because it has an incredibly large 2048 watt-hour of capacity on the inside with its lithium-ion batteries, but also has a built-in 2400 watt AC inverter, which is good enough to power pretty much everything in my office, including the window air conditioning unit up top here, which I'm hoping we don't have to use though, since it's not an extremely hot day. Now I will be giving you a full rundown of the Anker SOLIX F2000 a little bit later on, but to give you an idea of what I'm going to be connecting to it today, right behind me, I have a 38-inch ViewSonic curved monitor that I use every single day for editing video and working on the website. But then below that, I do have a gaming computer that's used for video editing as well. I'm running an NVIDIA 3070 for the graphics card and an AMD chipset, but I also have connected here a Wi-Fi router that I use for my internet connections, and in case the power starts going down, I will be switching over to this Lenovo dual screen laptop for my work today. Also plugged into the system are a couple of wireless chargers, my speakers for the computer, and also a desk lamp here using an LED light bulb. And then behind me is an LED light wall that I have plugged in, a couple LED lights. And then this here that I'm going to be turning on is a little fan that typically runs all day long just for a little bit of air circulation in the office. But I do have one final thing in order to complete this test, because we're trying to make the simulation as true as possible. Since in a power outage, you want to make sure that your food is as fresh as possible, I'm going to be running this extension cord from the power station here all the way down to my basement to power a mini fridge that I'm going to be getting some food out of later on today in order to have lunch. So let's get that wired up as well. Okay, so with the fridge plugged in downstairs, the last thing that's left to do is to unplug the Anker SOLIX F2000 and be powered fully by the battery system. Let's do it. So just for reference, I'm going to be starting this timer on my phone to see just how long we're able to run without this battery being plugged in. Here we go. And with that, we are fully running off of the Anker SOLIX F2000. We're running at about 230 watts right now with everything plugged in. I imagine my display is the thing that's taking up the most power here. But one thing to note that this does have a UPS system built in, uninterrupted power supply, which means I was able to pull the power plug on the back of this, and it switched over from the internal power just being a pass-through to charging directly from the battery itself, which means if you do have all of your systems plugged into the battery on a regular basis, even if you do have a power outage, your computer and all of your other systems are going to remain online without any interruption to power. Now that I have my entire office setup completely running off of this power station, including that mini refrigerator that's down in the basement, I do want to point out, Anker SOLIX is currently running a pretty incredible sale, offering up to $1,200 discounts on select products, including some select bundles that have been made specifically for this sale. It's running between July 3rd and July 9th, and if you're somebody who's constantly just watching for the best price possible on portable power stations, this is definitely the time to buy. If you want to pick up the F2000, this one right here that I've been testing out, or any other product in their lineup. As I hinted at before, let's talk a little bit about the name, Anker SOLIX, because all of you know Anker as the brand that brings smartphone battery banks and delivers some of the best products within that segment, and the ones I typically recommend the most. But a couple years back, they decided to bring in portable power stations under that same brand. And as that segment has continued to grow, they now think it's the perfect time to segregate out their portable power systems under Anker SOLIX. And now, that's exactly what we have. As we just hit the 2-hour mark, I wanted to give you guys a quick update on how things are going. So far, I've done
a 30-minute conference call, worked on emails, worked on editing a video, and we're still running at about 240 watts. I have seen that peak at about 300 watts, probably when the mini fridge downstairs, the compressor kicks in. But according to the timer on the display, it says we should be able to have another 5.5 hours running at this same rate.
During a power outage, you definitely want to conserve energy just so that your portable power system can last you as long as possible. So when preparing meals, you typically want to keep things simple, making a sandwich or just using up some perishables that might be in your fridge in case that fridge runs out of power as well. That being said, we want to push this power station to the limit today. So maybe we'll just plug in an air fryer and a toaster and cook up some lunch.
Not sure what you're eating today, but this looks absolutely delicious, and I think I'd be quite happy if this is what I was eating during a real power outage.
So it's been just under 4 hours since we started this experiment. Well, exactly 3 hours and 51 minutes. And so far, we still have a 37% charge on the power station, which I have to say is pretty impressive. I've been running everything that you see here for the last 4 hours or so, including the air fryer and the toaster in order to get lunch done. And while those did push things to the limit of what this power station can handle, everything else is well below that threshold. And I've even added this much larger light over here just because recording in this office is a little bit dark and, you know, we just need better lighting some of the times. But what I want to do right now is actually do a little bit of testing, because with this you can actually see the individual power draw that each item has when you unplug it and then plug it back in, which gives you a better understanding of what the power consumption is of the different electronics that you have plugged in. Personally, I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to these things because I do focus on using LED lights and other devices that are consuming less power. But let's plug things in or turn things off and turn them back on just to see how much power each device uses. To give you our current baseline, we've been sitting at about 266 to 280 watts of output with all of these devices that are plugged in right now. So the first one we're gonna turn off and turn back on is this LED light right up top. We were sitting at 270, and turning that off immediately dropped it to 265 to 264. So we have about a 5-watt power draw with that. We're gonna turn it back on, and we should see that jump up about 5 watts there. As far as this fan goes, we're gonna turn this on, and this is a super efficient fan that actually runs off of DC power. So as this turns on, we're gonna see this jump from about 272 all the way up to 278 there for a second as it was turning on, but then we can increase the output here to 282. But I think the thing that's going to be using the most power is this display. As you can see, we are at about 270 right now. Turning this off. So that display on its own is consuming just about 60 watts. And the next thing that we're going to turn off is the large light here that I use for lighting while recording video. We're sitting at 210-ish watts right now. Turn that off, and that number drops to 245. So that also consumes right around 60 watts, just as the display does on my desktop PC. And then last but not least, we have this dual screen Lenovo Yoga laptop that's running 2 4K videos, one on each of the displays here. And we're gonna see what this starts to consume once we plug it in. It's been running on battery power for a little bit, so this should definitely pop up all the way up to 334 watts from about 270. Of course, your power consumption is definitely going to vary from mine, just based off of the electronics that you have plugged into the power station. Just keep in mind though, for every 100 watts of power that you're consuming from the power station, it typically drops about 5% per hour since it has a 2048 watt-hour battery on the inside. With the current power consumption that I have right now, it's sitting at 340 watts thanks to that extra light that I have turned on and a couple other peripherals that I plugged in to charge a couple things up. It's telling me I'm at 34% with only 1.8 hours left until the battery is fully depleted. Now, it is not even 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and typically I work until 5, so I'm gonna unplug this light here, turn that off because honestly I don't need it all the time, and see if I can maybe turn off this monitor here and just work off of this laptop so that I can save some battery and make it to the end of my workday. And with that, I'm gonna call this test of the Anker SOLIX F2000 portable powerhouse a complete success. I've been using it now for just over 6 hours and 25 minutes to power everything in my office, including my video lights right now, and also that mini refrigerator downstairs, and it hasn't broken a sweat even once. Right now, we're sitting at about 6% battery left, and it's saying I have maybe about a quarter of an hour left before this battery completely dies with the current load. And I have to say, that's extremely impressive. I did want to make it to a full 8 hours, but you know, cooking with the air fryer and a toaster at lunchtime probably didn't help my situation at all. If you do want to know more details about the battery system itself, make sure you check out the link in the video description below, along with the details for the Anker SOLIX sale that's going on now from July 3rd through the 9th. And now, all that's left, we just got to turn it off.